Turner drives one to center, chasing Nimmo back to the warning track right at the fence. He made the catch! Oh, wow! The catch of the year from Brandon Nimmo! He took a home run away from Justin Turner! Wow.
Episode 41. Welcome to the Say Hello podcast. My name is Casey Lynn. I'm joined by my co-host, former Major League pitcher, former New York Met, Bill Pulsifer. We took a brief break, but back and ready to go. Bill, it's been a while since we had our podcast. How in the world have you been, buddy?
I've been good, man. Hanging in there, enjoying the summer.
A couple days left of the summer, and I'm looking forward to the next couple of weeks of fall baseball and all of that comes with it. Before we get into a lot that we have to get into, it's been, I have no idea. Our brief break is now over. I want to thank Chris behind the scenes for doing a good job. And I also want to say, if you are listening wherever you get your podcast, Say Hello Podcast. Also, please subscribe on YouTube at Say Hello Media. Just search in the search Say Hello Media and hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate it. And, well, Bill, here we are, the last couple of weeks of the season, actually less than 10 games to go. Wild card or bust. We spent the entire offseason and then all of this season, and we did not, or at least, well, I know you did not, and I did not expect to be where we are right now. So, the roller coaster season is what it is. It's 4 teams for 3 spots for the wild card. Padres, Diamondbacks, Mets, Braves, flip-flopping by a game every day, it seems like, with the Braves. Bill, before we get into, I want to get into an Ed Krankpool tribute. I want to get into the starting pitching. I want to get into Edwin Diaz and Senga. I want to get into what's worked for the Mets. But before we get into all that, in your wildest dreams, after 40 podcasts, getting into the 2024 season, did you think that the Mets would have 84 wins, maybe at the end of the year 90, after all of this?
I know you were quite optimistic about the 85 during the offseason and coming into the beginning of the season. This is a pleasant surprise. It's been a very interesting summer, enjoyable summer, meaningful baseball in September with the chance to make the playoffs. Not quite what I expected, but you got to tip your cap to Stearns, to Mendoza, to the team, to the coaches, to the whole organization for building a no-quit culture that they have there, from being 11 games under to 15 games over 500. That's just incredible. They've been the best team in the game since late May. Just it's very surprising, a pleasant surprise, obviously. And it's made for an enjoyable summer, an enjoyable watch. And here we are getting right down to the nitty gritty. And they've got a shot at getting in there.
Yeah, they absolutely do. They've been flip-flopping with the Braves, and they're, 2 games up, 1 game up, tied. We'll see what happens at the end of the year. We'll get into all the matchups as the last 10 games or so unfold. But, yeah, I was optimistic, but, I had my doubts. I mean, we talked about it. Everybody called this season a punt season for 2025. They signed everybody to the 1-year deals. The Manaeas, the Severinos, the Harrison Baders. And then, like you said, 11 under 500 on May 30th. And then Lindor held that team meeting. And ever since then, I have it in my notes somewhere, they are 62 and 35 since May 30th. The best record in Major League Baseball since. That's more than half a year. And that is playing incredible baseball. So no one expected this. I don't think Stearns expected this in his wildest dreams.
I wouldn't. I mean, who knows? Maybe inwardly he was very, very confident in his moves and all that. But I mean, to say you were the best team in baseball for an 80 plus game stretch, 90 plus game stretch, that's pretty darn good. I thought that they would be competitive. I thought they were going to be a slightly under 500 ball club. Boy, was I wrong. Boy, they proved me wrong. I love it. Absolutely love it. But to me, it's a credit to just everybody going in on a daily basis and saying, we're just as good as any other team out there and believing in themselves. And I think the further you get away from the game, the more that you kind of forget about what it's like to say, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to do my thing. And that's exactly what they've done. And it's been a lot of fun to watch.
I use the word roller coaster because it has been. We remember the 0-5 start, and then they went, 7-0 after that, and then 11 under. We just talked about where they are now, the best record in baseball since May 30th. It's been a roller coaster season. I can't get greedy as a Met fan because we didn't expect this, but I'm a human being, as you are, Bill. And when you get this far with so little games left and you're right on the cusp of getting into the playoffs, like, let's finish the job, And you and I have no idea how it's going to end. We can predict, we can crunch the numbers, but I can tell you one thing. This team, and I think you would attest to this, has grit. They fight. There's been so many just, things that have happened across the season. They haven't had Kodai Senga the entire year. They're ace for except 5 1/3 innings. Already, he got a calf strain. They're doing this with just grit, fight, vibes, camaraderie. And as a former Major League Baseball player, I think, tell me if I'm wrong, that has a lot to do. If there's talent on the team and you guys are a family and just believe in each other, this is what is happening with the 2024 Mets. Tell me if I'm wrong.
No, I think you said it perfect. It's about belief. They believe in themselves. They believe in themselves as individuals, and I think that they believe in themselves as teammates. And that goes a long way, and they're proving that. I think that maybe they, as individuals and as a collective group, had a point to prove a little bit with all the punt season and possible negativity. I don't think there was a lot of negativity going around, but I think that there wasn't a lot of expectations, maybe like there has been in previous years, the last few years. So I think that they took that to heart. There's been some interjection of some new guys here with Iglesias and then Vientos coming into his own that have kind of brought and Tyrone Taylor obviously bringing another attitude, another positive outlook to things. And I think that it's really, they've just grown together as a group. And we've said it before. I know it's been a little bit of a break, but we'll say it again. Just kind of playing for one another as opposed to just playing for themselves and pulling for the next guy and rooting for the next guy. And you just see it, on a nightly basis, how much they're enjoying their baseball.
They really are. You could tell that their vibes are high, and I'm glad you brought up those two names, Jose Iglesias and Tyrone Taylor. Tyrone Taylor is a really good fourth outfielder. He could play all three outfield positions. Plus, he's been hot lately at the end of the season. That's all that matters. But Jose Iglesias turned the season around for the Mets. He did. I mean, I know that the gimmicks, the grimace and the rally pimp and whatever the hell else has been thrown out there, but Jose Iglesias brought the OMG, right? He is a Latin pop singer with a really good song, actually, and he's really good. And all of that combined, everything changed when he was added to the roster. And so I'm getting ahead of myself. I mean, Mets still have a long way to go, but I'm re-signing this guy to whatever he wants. I mean, he's been unbelievable. He's been a godsend.
I tell you, in the club, in a clubhouse, the music vibe is a thing. There's a thing to it. Like you have your songs that you go through that that certain songs will be played at certain times, pregame,
postgame, rising,
whatever it may be. And I think that brings along the camaraderie too, when the group can get behind a certain genre of music, and sometimes it's country music, sometimes it's hip hop music, sometimes it's rap music. I mean, rock and roll music, whatever it may be. And I think that, I know it sounds silly, but when you play free and easy, and that's one thing that I like about Tyrone Taylor, is he doesn't play on a daily basis, but he seems so free and easy out there. Same thing with Iglesias, just free and easy. He doesn't seem apprehensive or worried about, oh man, if I don't get a hit now, I'm not going to play tomorrow. And I think that I know as crazy as it sounds, the OMG thing really brought the crew together. We had the grimace thing, we had the rally pimp, but that was kind of out of the clubhouse. Yep. Inside the clubhouse is where things really, where the family is. And I think that as crazy as it sounds, something as silly as a song can really rally the troops and bring the guys together.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They had the sign OMG. They play it after every win.
Which Severino loves that sign.
I mean, if
I
Severino
think he might
goes,
take it to bed with him.
yeah, and like he's pitching, I believe, uh, Tuesday, whatever, Wednesday. I have no idea what the days are. First game. All right, fine, guys. We're recording on whatever. What is today, Bill?
Thursday,
the first game of the Phillies. So Severino's pitching. So I think when Severino pitches, I believe it's either Quintana or Manaea who take over the duties of.
I think it's Manaea. Quintana seems a little bit more reserved. I think Manaea might have a little bit more flair in him.
Right.
Both.
So
not saying one's better than the other, flair or no flair, but I think Manaea is a little bit more of the flair.
But Bill, it's to your point. You hit the nail on the head. They have the sign, and Severino literally is making it his job in the dugout. Every freaking home run the Mets hit, everyone, he's got that sign going. When he's not pitching. So 4 out of 5 games. So they bought into it, and you're right. All those other gimmicks, they were not in the clubhouse. This one is. So Jose Iglesias started it, and plus to put a bow on Iglesias, because we got a lot more to talk about. I hit on it a little bit earlier. He's hitting like 400 with
He's playing his ass off.
He is one of the best defenders I've seen at any position, second, short, third, right? And he hits in the clutch, and he's fast as shit. And to think that when we had our podcast like in January, right? And every other word that we said, Yamamoto this, Yamamoto that, right? Like the Mets.
Is he even playing? Does Yamamoto still play?
Yamamoto?
Yeah.
He came off the IL 2 weeks ago. He basically missed like 3/4 of the year.
Right.
Dodgers are ravaged by injuries in their starting pitching.
Yeah, their starting pitching has been
so much so that they're thinking, and they're putting it out there, that this guy I've never heard of before, this Otani fellow, he might come back pitch if in the postseason, whatever. You know what, Dodger fans, have your own podcast. Worry about yourself.
There we go.
But Iglesias has been a godsend. I look at him as, of course you remember Luis Guillorme. Guillorme was a wizard in the field. But Iglesias is better. And this is no disrespect to Guillorme. He's a better defender. Plays all 3 infield positions, second, short, and third. And he's a way better hitter. I mean, I have a lot of confidence when he's up. It's just crazy. And this is where I'm getting at. And then we could go on. The fact that they left him in the minors on opening day, and they went with Joey Wendell and Zach Short. And they had this guy sitting in AAA, hitting his ass off.
Well, you look at, there's 2 guys on the roster that started the year in the minor leagues that have been integral parts to this team. 1, Iglesias, and 2, Vientos. Vientos has been fantastic. And there was a time this season when the season started, you thought maybe that was, his last go around or his last attempt had already happened. And he's been phenomenal too. So again, you got to tip your hat to Stearns for pulling the right strings and making the right moves.
Yeah, last year, and I don't want to shit on Buck, and Billy Epler, but it was Daniel Vogelback every day. They never gave. He keeps saying, "Oh boy," he thinks I'm on one. I'm not.
No, I agree. That was not a. I mean, nothing against Daniel Vogelback. Do your thing, get your big league time, but
yeah,
that was.
But they never played Vientos, and I went back to all the quotes and the press conferences, and he's literally on record, Buck, saying, "Why would we play Vientos when we have Daniel Vogelback here?" Well, you know what, Buck? With all due respect, it worked out when you were wrong. Let's just put it that way without me going off, So I'm glad that you mentioned
I'm going to leave that alone, too.
I know. I remember in the early podcast days with Buck and, last year. But I'm glad that you brought up Vientos because I wasn't actually going to talk about him. He's been slumping of late. He came around a little bit in the last couple of days, but we got to give him his due. He got sent down early in the season after he wasn't called up to the majors to make opening day. Brett Beatty did.
Yep.
Beatty was terrible. They gave Beatty another shot, and then I think it was Marte who went on the paternity leave. and they had brought up Vientos, and he hit that walk-off home run to right center field.
Yeah.
And if you remember, he let all that emotion out, and they sent him right back down because Marte came back after he had his kid. But then Beatty was not performing. They brought back Vientos again, and he literally has been the best third baseman in the National League ever since he got called back up. You can make the case he's the best third baseman in the majors with Jose Ramirez. Ramirez has topped him, but at a certain point, like 2 weeks ago, it was close. And the dude is like 24.
He's been phenomenal. He's been another one that surprised to me where I wasn't maybe necessarily the biggest Vientos fan. I got to give him all the credit in the world. He does take some crazy swings sometimes at sliders in the left-handed batter's box. You're like, what the hell? He must not have seen that pitch. But he's been clutch. He's been fun to watch. I know he gets a little bit of ribbing about his defense, but he's been solid over there. He makes some silly errors once in a while on routine plays, but hey, so does everybody, you know.
You know what? Vientos has a great arm. He has no range, and he's slow as shit, like piano on the back. But he has crazy raw power, and we've always said that. And he got his ABs, and he's ran with it. And I think the Mets finally have their third baseman of the future.
Looks that way.
I'm happy for him. I really am.
Me too. And I'm happy for the team. Third base has always been a sticking point other than when David Wright took it over. And then, Alfonso was there for a minute, but Alfonso was between third and second base, but if you look at historically, third base has been kind of a position that's been hard to fill for the Mets over the 60 plus years.
Yeah, and Alfonso was before David Wright. So you're right. Ever since David Wright, it's been one of those positions where, Ty Wigington was holding
especially since David Wright left. It's been just a merry-go-round over there for
and hopefully Vientos will stick,
Yep.
So let's move on. I'd be remiss. Ed Kranepool passed away a couple of weeks ago. We had our little break. We're back and ready to go as we are right now. We got to give him his flowers. Ed Kranepool, his nickname was Mr. Met.
Yeah.
If you're called Mr. Met, that's high praise. Before your thoughts on him, I just want to give everybody watching and listening just a rundown real quick on Ed Kranepool. And if you're watching or listening, hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Type in Say Hello Media. Ed Kranepool, number 7. 18 seasons, Bill. His whole career with the Mets. Original Met, 1962 to 1979. He signed at 17 years old with the Mets. His whole life was the Mets. He was an All-Star in 1965. He was a 1969 World Champion. He's in the Mets Hall of Fame, which was in 1990. He's third all-time in history in hits on the Mets. Since he retired, he's been surpassed by Reyes and then David Wright. And he holds, to this second, the most games played ever by a Met with 1,853 games played. Those are some really cool accolades. And most importantly, he was a really good guy.
Yeah.
18 years, one team is one thing, but I've never heard a bad word said about him. I met him once at a gathering for the 69 World Champion team at a dinner when I was like 12. I don't know if you've had any run-ins with Ed Kranepool over your career and your time, but I just wanted to give everyone listening and watching a rundown of Ed Kranepool meant a lot to a lot of players and just everybody in the organization. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I did brief moments with Mr. Kranepool, and he's a legend, obviously a Mets legend. Original Met, first World Series with the Mets. I reached out to Jay Horwitz, who was a very close friend of Ed when he passed away, and he thanked me for reaching out, and he said he was a great man, and that's all I've ever heard anybody ever say about him, and not talking about great baseball player, this, that, and the other thing. A great man, a great person. So the Mets lost a legend. Unfortunately, life sucks, and we all got to go at some point in time, it's I guess that's the bad part of being alive, is you got to go sometime. But
Father Time gives up.
He's undefeated. He's undefeated. But legendary, will always be remembered. Mr. Met.
Yeah. R.I.P. another 1969 world champ. We've lost too many this year
Yeah.
to Kranepool. We got to move on. We got to talk some Mets baseball as we were before. I used the word roller coaster, Bill. Let me just do this for everybody. The final stretch. Let's pretend there's 10 games to go. I'm sure when people are listening to this or watching, there's going to be less. There's 4 teams for 3 spots. The Mets are going to have 4 at home against the Phillies, and then 3 at the Braves, which is going to be huge. And it reminds me of PTSD that I had in 2022. We don't have to go there because we know what happened. And then they finish out the year at Milwaukee, which is ironic because that's what David Stearns built.
I tell you, whoever put this schedule together did a pretty interesting job with the Mets schedule, the way things are working out here towards the end.
Not only did they do it, you're right, and not only did they do that, the last weekend of the year, everyone's going to wonder who are the Braves playing, who are the Padres playing, who are the Diamondbacks playing. Well, San Diego is playing the Diamondbacks.
Wow.
So one's going to lose. So the Mets are playing the Brewers that last weekend of the season. Not this weekend, the 20, I don't know the date. Actually, I have a calendar right in front of me. What's today's date? The 19th?
Yep.
Yeah, recording it. So the 27th through the 29th is the last weekend of the series. Mets are playing the Brewers. San Diego's at the Diamondbacks. So as we speak right now, the Mets are actually tied with the Diamondbacks for the second wild card.
Yep.
So one's got to lose. If the Mets take care of business, they're in. And also
6-4. Go 6-4 and you're in.
That would be 90 wins.
6-4 and you're in.
Bill.
And they've been playing. What's the winning percentage? You said 62 and 35. Is that 600 baseball?
You got a calculator?
I don't
either. But 62.
But if you play 600 baseball, you're in the playoffs. 6-4 and they're in.
Yeah,
And just think they gave away a few games last weekend. Well,
we're gonna get into Edwin Diaz in a second, but
I didn't say that. I said they gave away a few games.
Oh no,
I'll say that in a few minutes.
Bill, Edwin Diaz. We'll get into Edwin in a little bit.
4 more runs. It's both. You can't say the closer blew the game in a 1-1 game. Score 2 runs and you win it. Score 3 runs and you win it. Anyway, let's move on.
If 10 games to go, they're 84 and 60, whatever. If they go 6-4, like you said, 90 wins.
I would have never guessed they would have won 90 games. And look, it's still a ways to go. You got to win 6 games. But I would have never guessed. Steve Cohen, you know my number that I had, and it was not 90.
No, I never. 90 wins should get you in the goddamn playoffs. But it's going to be one of those, like, either we're going to be elated or we're going to be defeated.
I say this, though. I say that when the season started, if we're all looking back as Mets fans, as supporters of the team, meaningful games in September and a chance to make it to the dance.
Damn.
If you look at it that way, sure,
Fine.
You'll be disappointed if they come up a little bit short. But with the expectations going into the season, I think that everybody would have signed up for these last 10 games to say we're right there and we got a shot. We wouldn't want to skip the 152 games prior to this because you want to enjoy it. But if we could say, let's fast forward 152 games, we got 10 games to go and you're right here where we're at. And if we did this on April 1, everybody would have said, sign me up for it.
Of course. We all projected not making the playoffs, and forget win totals. 90 wins they're on pace for. But let me just say this, Bill. I remember as a teenager, while you were playing, when the Mets, after they signed Valentine as their manager, like 97, 98, they missed the playoffs by like 3 games. 99, we all know what happened in 2000, World Series.
Yeah.
I will say this. And you know this more than anybody. If you get into the dance, anything can happen. Look at the Diamondbacks last year, and they only won 84 games. So
and you can't tell this team that they can't do anything either because they don't believe you. They won't believe you anyway. So you can't tell them, you don't belong or you're not going to be able to win. You can't tell them that.
My point is, I can't be greedy. Like you said, we weren't expecting this. But I also am allowed to, if beggars can't be choosers, I get that. But after the roller coaster of the season, and I don't play for the Mets, but the Mets are that close to getting in. and anything can happen once you get in. Listen, I've never seen a World Series celebration in my life. You know, once you get in, anything can happen. I don't care about 2025 anymore. Right now, we'll have all off season about Soto and Corbin Burns and Pete, but let's see how this unfolds. And last thing, thank you again for bringing this up. Do you remember JD Martinez? I think it was when they were 11 under 500, and
you were saying he's never going to play.
Well, no, it's not. I did say that, so I'll own it. But he's more of like I feel like a coach at this point. Age has caught up to him. He's been slumping lately.
Yeah.
But he said earlier than that, and this is not my point. Playoffs are addicting because he's Red Sox, Dodgers, all that. But he said, and I forget the date. I think it was after the closed door meeting. He said, what the hell did he say? It was so profound. He said exactly what you said. Nobody expected us to be where we are or winners, so fuck it. Let's just go out and play, and no one else will expect anything. Ever since he said that in that meeting, they've been the best team in baseball. Coincidence? I'm sure. But something clicked on that meeting, and it was Francisco Lindor who led it, and obviously others spoke. And they're 62 and 35 cents. So, props to JD Martinez, a veteran. Time is, catching up on him. He's 37. But you need it, as you know, you need veterans on a team who have been to the playoffs, who can speak.
Oh, yeah.
And
he's definitely been a calming presence, a leader, silent guidance. I'm sure he uses his words, but he's not outwardly boastfully doing it. I think it's behind closed doors and going and grabbing a guy, putting an arm around a guy and talking to a guy. I think it's more that type of leadership.
I totally agree. And I don't want to toot my horn or anything, but we all said the Mets are punting. I never said it, but 99% of I feel like Met fans did. Punt season, right? Then we had our podcast because JD Martinez signed with the Mets real late. He missed the first month because he had to catch up, getting ready. Once they signed JD Martinez, to me, everything clicked in my head that this is not a punt season. Like they're not telling JD, who wants to win at his age, even though he won a World Series with the Red Sox in 18, that come along for the ride. We're going to lose, 90 games. Like, they signed him, and I knew it was like something just changed.
I tell you this, for me, and early on, I wasn't giving Stearns maybe the credit that he has been shown due. Him being with the Brewers for as many years as he was and making them a competitive team and consistently making the playoffs with quote unquote under budgeted teams, not the big market, not the big money. I guess that's you got to give him the credit for kind of knowing the Manaeas, knowing the Baders, knowing the JD Martinez still has something in him, knowing the Iglesias, doing these things. You got to tip your cap to the guy that not making the big splash. Obviously, for a couple of guys that didn't want to sign in New York anyway. The big free agents this past year didn't jump on Montgomery, which turns into Manaea is a heck of a better signing than Montgomery. Montgomery's pitching in the bullpen, pitching mop-up for the Diamondbacks right now.
Yeah.
So, again, adding Martinez, I agree with you. That was another statement to the clubhouse and not necessarily to the fan base. Obviously, the fan base gets it. To the team, hey, man, we're here to win a little bit. We're not here to just play this season out and then see what next offseason brings when we can sign some guys after I've been here a year.
No.
So, again, I tip my cap.
You know what? So do I. And I'm wearing a cap. So tipping it. But you know what? You're right. You played in Major League Baseball, Bill. And a lot of people don't know this. And I realized this when I got Lucy and met Pete Alonso. I got Lucy on January 7th of this year. And it was early in the morning. My dad and I drove to Tampa to get Lucy, and we met Pete and Haley. And that was the day that the Mets signed Sean Manaea. And after we broke the ice.
And I was like, what the hell are they doing signing Manaea?
Right. You were like that. But
I know.
Pete,
and he's been great.
But my point is, after the ice was broken, I go, Pete, what do you think about the signing of Sean Manaea? He goes, what? These guys, and a former Major League player, they don't pay attention. Like, I broke the news to Pete, and Manaea is an ace. He's going to get Cy Young votes this year. Like, they don't pay attention. Like, they have a
Well,
job to do.
as athletes, we're in our own soup a lot of the times, dealing
Right.
with our own, focusing on our own, especially at that time of year. Pete was probably very hyper focused on his workout regimen and making sure he's getting his
He
work in.
was.
Also, as well as maybe a little bit of a break, knowing that we're ramping up into where everything's going to really, really matter shortly.
Yeah. I mean, he was all about getting Harrison Bader. I remember him telling me
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But they're buddies and all that. They played at University of Florida. But
Well, I think Manaea has endeared himself to the team, and not just on the field. Because they pan to the dugout quite a bit during the games, and you can see that he's one of the guys, and he has
perfect.
been phenomenal. And he's going tonight. It's a huge game tonight. We've already given away, but
No, Sevy's going tonight.
that's right.
Yeah.
Saturday is Manaea.
Saturday.
Tonight's game is a huge game in my eyes because of what happened last weekend, where they gave a couple of games away. If they go out there and they kind of shit the bed a little bit tonight, I think the mood's gonna. You can't cut them short. But the mood will be hindered a little bit for that 6-4. If they win tonight, boy, you better watch out.
And even Manaea said, and I love to hear his quote. He said, like, you don't hear a player actually admitting he's like, and he pitched another gem, like
He's
7+.
awesome.
He's been great. And he's like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm scoreboard watching. Braves lost.
Well, sure,
absolutely,
because he wants to. He's got some playoff time, right? With the A's a few years back.
A's, Giants, Padres. He's definitely pitched. Yeah. But perfect segue, Bill. Unless you.
No, go.
I wanted to do this, and it's a perfect segue. So the Mets are going. People are going to listen to this, and it's going to be a couple games into the Phillies series. So we got to recognize that. But going into the Phillies series, we talked about the best record in the majors, 62-35. The question is, Bill, how did the Mets get to the best team in the majors for the 3/4 of the year, and without their ace, Kodai Senga, right? Which is a whole other thing that we'll touch on. But going into the Phillies series, and I have literally 4 pages of notes here, and I can't even read my fucking handwriting. But going into the Phillies series, Mets starters have gone 6+ innings, allowing 4 hits or fewer for 7 straight games. That is the longest streak since 1893, when they got 60 feet and 6 inches, and it's tied with the 23 Blue Jays, 11 Astros, 02 Marlins. That's how good the pitching's been.
You just sparked what I was going to say, and it has a lot to do with this. I'm going to retract earlier in the year bitching and moaning about 75 pitches and 5 innings, and guys, as it turns out,
really,
that stat right there to me says that maybe they knew something down the road, because here they are, going 7 strong pretty much every night, and they're doing it in 88 to 90 pitches. They're not even getting to 105, 110 numbers. So again,
okay,
they stayed the course. They stopped walking freaking guys.
Yep.
And as it turns out, the early 5 innings in that, which we said, we'll get to the Diaz later, the bullpen is still the issue. So to me, it still kind of hurt this bullpen in the long run. But for the starters themselves, it's made them stronger to this point of the year. So maybe if you're not going to have to use as much of the bullpen come late in the year, hopefully that's better off. But I think that the bullpen has definitely kind of struggled a little bit due to early on in the season. But the starters have definitely just risen to the occasion and riding their way to the top of the mountain.
Guys, if you're listening wherever you get your podcast audio, my jaw just dropped when Bill just said that, because all year long, rightly so, Bill was like, they're babying these guys, and he just took, he reversed, which you're allowed to.
I got to take it back.
You're allowed to,
I have to.
So if you're not watching, Say Hello Media, I'll put it up to the camera. Go on YouTube. We got our business cards. Say Hello Media. Type that in, okay? Because my jaw just dropped. Bill just took back 150 games worth of talking shit, and I
listen. I
respect it. I respect it.
As a starting pitcher, your mindset should be, I'm going 7 or more tonight. Now, it's taken a while for them to get to there, but the numbers that you just read off in that stat, has proven that it's maybe the season is a marathon, and I guess they're doing well in their marathon for sure.
Here, this is going to make you actually, feel better about reversing your tune. In September, they have a 177 ERA, number one by far in the majors. They're starting pitching. And let me just go through their five. Manaea, let me just go through their year real quick for everybody in you. Sean Manaea has a 2.69 ERA in his last 18 starts. That's a big chunk. David
That's
Peterson.
half the season.
That's, yeah. He's
a little more than half the season.
He's made 30 starts, 18 of them. His last 18, 2.69.
That's pretty damn good.
Peterson came back in May after hip surgery, 2.85 for the season.
Took him a little while to get going. Obviously, he wasn't giving up a lot of runs, but it was a lot of traffic, and he's been good. He's been very good as well.
You know what I called him? We would text. I called him David Traffic Peterson.
Yeah.
That whip is still high, but he's played Houdini enough, and he figured it out as, like you just said, got more healthy.
Well, I know we got a question coming up later, so I'm going to reserve some of my comments on him.
Severino, 2.35 his last 6. Tyler McGill, okay, 1.69 in his last 4. And then Jose Quintana, this is ridiculous, 0.28 ERA his last 5. I like, what?
He's had some hot and cold streaks, but his hot streaks have been he's not giving up anything in his hot streaks.
Listen to this. I've done a lot of research for today because it's been a while. Ready? Your job, my job. Pitchers in Mets history with an ERA lower than 0.30 over a 5-start span. 0.30. Unheard of. Jacob deGrom. R.A. Dickey. Your favorite player ever. Doc Gooden. Jerry freaking Koosman. And now Jose Quintana.
Crazy. Those are some names right there.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So.
Makes you wonder about next year. You keep bringing them back, It's crazy.
About Quintana?
And he's doing it with a 90, 91, 92 topping out mile-an-hour fastball.
Yeah.
Him and Alvarez work very, very well together. You can see right. They are on the same page.
You're right, though. It scares me. He's very streaky. Obviously he's been the best in the last 5, but
it's just when he goes bad, it's
when he's right. When he's bad, he's really bad. And
he's given up more home runs than he's ever given up, but he's also pitched some of the best streak of games, like you just said, 0.26 over a 6-game span, 4 or 5-game span. But that's baseball, man. Especially when you don't pitch with overpowering stuff. He doesn't he can't afford to get away with mistakes because he has to pinpoint the ball and move the ball around and change speeds.
Yeah.
And he is proof that pitching still works, not throwing. Pitching still works.
He's a pitcher. And when the Mets signed him last year for the 2-year contract, it was known, and the stats backed it up, doesn't allow home runs, and he's a ground ball pitcher.
Right.
Well, that didn't happen for the first, year plus, but here we are. So.
Well, he didn't give up. He went a huge streak without giving up a home run as a Met before this year.
Right. And then he turned into bad Quintana.
But it has been a little strange. But when he's hot, he's lights out. And let's hopefully that he stays lights out and stays hot.
Listen, before we get into little offense talk, I want to go through one player with you because he's a lefty and we already talked about him, Sean Manaea. Okay? The Mets signed him to a 2-year, whatever, $30 million, whatever the hell it was. Yeah. But he has an opt-out after this year. He's opting out, okay?
I would think so.
Yeah. So let me give you his stats this year. And my question to you before I do the Mets re-sign him? And what are we looking at? Yes, we're going to have all off season to discuss this. But let me just give you how good he's been this year, okay? He's 11-5, 30 games started, 3.26 ERA, 176 innings pitched, 177 strikeouts, a 108 whip. He's second in the league in games started, 5th in whip, 6th in ERA plus, 7th in strikeouts, 9th in innings. He's opting out, right?
I would think so.
He's been on with quotes. He loves New York. He's the Cali guy, but he's like, I embrace New York.
Yeah.
I think I know the answer. You bring him back?
I definitely bring him back, but I'm not bringing him back on 7 years like these guys want.
No, he's like 33. Like,
So yeah, at 40, you can pay me $55 million to pitch for you.
I
Call me
think
Kevin Brown too.
Kevin Brown, the first one to make $100 million as a pitcher.
Right, 110, I believe it was.
He was.
I don't know. I mean, look, it's easy for me to say. It's easier for me to say as a guy that doesn't play anymore and didn't make that kind of money. You're gonna have enough money, regardless of however many years it is or how much money it is. You're gonna have money for You're gonna have generational money.
Yep.
It's gonna come down to, does he enjoy being a Met?
Yes.
Does he want to play in New York?
Yes.
And is he not chasing number figures both in dollars and both in years? Because I think that it's going to – I honestly believe that the starting pitcher is being pushed the way of the running back, just like NFL. They're trying to make it it's just a position. It's not an important position. The guys that come in after that all throw 100 miles an hour, we'll use them every single night. Those are going to be the more important guys. So it's going to basically come down, I think, over the next few years. Manaea is in that situation where you're not going to get offered 7 years, buddy. I'm sorry, You're going to get offered. He's going to think that. That's been the norm for 20 plus years now. Starter's going to get a 7 or 10 year deal. So he's going to still believe that, or he's going to understand that this is the market. This is where the market's going. And you're going to get a 3 or 4 year deal, and you're going to get generational money, and your family and your family's family is going to be all right. And if he's all right with that, I 100% bring him back. He's been a great Met. He loves playing for the Mets. You can see it, like I said before, when they show him in the dugout. He's always interacting. He's interacting with his teammates. He's engaged.
Yep.
You love to have a guy like that on the team. He's also shown that through the arm angle change and that this year, he's shown that he's still trying to get better and trying to learn. He doesn't figure like I've got it figured out.
Let me ask you about that. He's a left-handed pitcher just like you. He changed his arm angle dramatically at the All-Star break. When he warms up in the bullpen, I don't know. I've never seen anything like it. Have you? He's now warming up from a right-hander mound, throwing as a lefty, to the catcher for his arm. He's kind of went the Chris Sale way, like sidearm ish.
Yeah.
Not dropping down, but just it's worked. And if it ain't broken, don't fix it.
Part of me wonders if because I know he got big into the drive line last offseason trying to find some velocity. Part of me wonders if in the drive line he kind of brought his arm angle up a little bit, and it didn't feel as natural for him. And then he's kind of maybe looked at some old video of himself prior to and realized, you know what, my arm angle was a little bit lower, and it just feels more natural to him because everybody has their own specific arm angle. And a lot of them are similar, but you can't tell a guy that feels much better throwing down low and has a good consistent release point, hey, you got to get your arm up, and vice versa. So if it's working, you ride with it. And it's obviously lets you know that he watches film, he pays attention, and it's not just his film. He watches film of other guys and sees what they do. It's funny that you say the Chris Sale thing because I was just giving a lesson to a fantasy camp guy yesterday, and he said the exact same thing. He was talking about, I'm thinking about when Manaea is saying about throwing like Sale. And I had to remind him that you're 72 years old and you've got nothing to do with Manaea or Sale. But whatever makes you happy, we're willing to work with.
Oh, my God. You're right, though. Like I just said, his last 18, his ERA is 2.6, whatever.
That's Cy Young numbers, I know we got spoiled when you got Jake with a 1.8 and a 1.9 for a few years, but giving up 2.6 runs every 9 innings in the major leagues is phenomenal.
It is phenomenal, and even more, he's gone like 6 2/3 his last 7 starts.
A lot of 7 innings, no runs. A lot of 7 innings and no runs. And Quintana lately, and Severino. The numbers don't lie.
Let's finish up the pitch talk before we get a little offense. Before we do some mailbag, quick pitches like the old days.
Yes, sir.
I gotta take a breath before this.
Okay.
Senga. Okay. What in the world? I feel crazy in a good way because I want Senga back, right? And he's due to come back at the end of the year. I can't tell you if it's going to be the Braves series or the last series of the year, Brewers. But no matter what, it's a big game. whenever it is. He's going to Syracuse on Sunday, right? What is the date on that? The 22nd. Okay, he's pitching 1 inning in a rehab, facing live batters. He's doing his PFPs. He looks healthy from the calf strain. Obviously, the arm is still intact. He's throwing his bullpens, right? But we just talked about how good the starting pitching is. I feel, and he also said, and he's a perfectionist. We spent many a podcast going, where is he?
Right.
You know, and he even doubled down on it. Now he goes, I have to be 100% to pitch. Okay, you're meticulous. God bless you. But if you're going to be an opener, right? Which I've always said, if he's going to come back, be a reliever. 1 inning, whatever. Not, he's probably just said no. But if you're going to be an opener to every starter that we just discussed, who's been great, like you're a pitcher, creatures of habit. You're screwing up a routine.
I wouldn't mess with it. If you want to come back and pitch, great, but we're going to put you in the bullpen, and maybe we can have you pitch in the 7th or 8th inning. I wouldn't mess. Why mess with it? You just read off a stat. What is 1800 or something? 1920? What number? What day did you say?
1893.
I'm not sure if you're aware or not, but that's a long ass time ago. So why would you mess with that? I'll believe that Senga's going to start a game when I actually see it. I don't believe that right now.
You know what? We'll leave it at that. Fine.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
Why mess with it? Why mess with it? These guys are rolling. And like you said, nobody's more creature of habit than a starting pitcher.
Right.
Nobody is more.
Oh,
we're weirdos as starting pitchers when it comes to I do this at this time, I do this at this time, I do, and so why would you want to mess with that? Who's the guy that you mess with?
Well, it would be
who's the one you mess with?
It would be Quintana, even though he's been pitching the best.
Right, because he's the older guy that could be able to handle it. Because I wouldn't mess with Peterson. I wouldn't mess with McGill. You're
going to put Senga in the best, in the most, right in the, like, in the fire. Like, I leave it alone.
At this point, to me, honestly, he's pitched 5 1/3 innings. And I like Senga.
We all do.
I can't wait to see him pitch next year.
Love him.
But at this point,
yep,
come over and cheer, bro. Come and cheer for the boys, and let's see.
I'll get the last thing on Senga. He goes, I'm 80%. I need to be 100%. I'll know after the rehab of 1 inning in Syracuse. Come on.
Maybe there was a mix-up in the translation. If he says he's 80% now, he's going to throw 1 inning on Sunday. He's going to be 100%.
I don't understand.
For how many pitches?
Right, exactly.
Stearns is yet to do the opener thing. So why would you do it come the last 10 games of the season when all the cards are on the table?
The Mets are facing Chris Sale in that 3-game series at the Braves, which basically is going to be the season, because that's the only team that Mets don't have a tiebreaker to be determined with, every team they have. And the Mets, I'm not going to 2022, but don't mess with.
If it ain't broke, don't try to fix it, man. They're riding right now. Let them starters ride.
Exactly. It boggles my mind. We'll see what happens.
I'll believe it when I see it. I don't believe it yet.
Let's talk a little offense, okay? The Mets.
You're gonna skip right over old Sugar? We're gonna leave Sugar alone.
I just saw his name. I was, but you just brought it up. Go ahead. You want me to? I have my remarks.
Stop pitching him in tie games. Stop pitching him in games on the road without a lead. Pitch him with a lead in the 9th inning. Do not bring him in with people on base. Do not do it. Don't do it. He's proven up to this point, over 152 games, he's proven that is not his thing. Now, there has been closers over the history of the game that do those types of things, that they come in the 8th and they get 6. There's also been plenty of closers that I do this and I do this only. That is him. He is one of those guys. I think it's been proven. And I don't like shitting on guys because I'm a former player. I root for the players. But I think if you asked him, Sugar, when do you want to come in? I want to come in with nobody on base in the 9th with the lead. That's when he's at his best. Let's stop trying to pretend like he's something that he's not, And I'll leave it at that.
I agree with you. I will say this, because I put it out there in the Twitterverse, right? Okay? Edwin Diaz has cost the Mets 6 to 8 games this year just by blowing games. Never mind the 10-game suspension, which whatever, he could have washed his hands. Everybody else gets to do. He did
Right.
it. But yeah, was he excessive with what he had? Of course. But they were compromised for 10 games, right? And it cost Drew Smith his arm. I'm not blaming Diaz solely on that, but it's not a coincidence. He rushed it. As you know, it's tough to throw on the mound, filling in for an injured pitcher in front of 40,000.
And
Drew,
Drew's a high energy guy, so he went out there
right. Drew
hung
Smith hurt
chucking,
himself. That
and
he
warming up in front of 40,000 people is a lot
Have
different
you
than
done
warming
that?
up in the bullpen. So it's
You,
a huge
you
difference.
done that?
Have I done it?
Yeah.
Once.
And how was it?
You rush yourself.
Right. It's
You
not
know?
comfortable, right? Yeah.
I mean,
So
it's not something that happens all the time. I mean, it's not,
right.
so, and you also feel like, well, we're always told that the game's got to speed up. We got to hurry up. So, okay, I'm ready,
You know
and
what?
that's
Right.
just the way it rolls, but,
So
Diaz is a closer that pitches in the ninth inning with a lead, and that is it.
I'll leave it at this. The only reliever, closer, that should have gotten a contract like Edwin Diaz is Mariano Rivera. You don't get 5 years, $20 million to anybody else. I don't care who you are. I don't care. Because closers are just so fickle. So I'll leave it at that.
They're special individuals, and listen, standing out there to get outs 25, 26, and 27. That's not an enviable position, and there's been plenty of guys over the years that, man, this guy's great in the seventh and eighth. Let's use him in the ninth, and he struggles in the ninth. So
Craig Kimball just got DFA
I
by
saw
the Orioles. He's a Hall of Famer, but you know what? Time ran out on him. But my point is, for a closer, tell me if you agree or not. You have to be a psycho.
Yes, a little bit.
Right? A little bit of that.
You're either a complete psycho or you're a complete.
No
I don't give a fuck about anything. I'm just
right.
One or the other. There is no in between.
A Navy SEAL, like no pulse, like Phil Maton. If you ever pay attention to Phil Maton, and we'll have all off season to see if the Mets pick his option up. The guy doesn't show any emotion. He's like that Navy SEAL where he just no pulse, like throw me in there and he gets the job done. Or the opposite. These other closers,
complete maniac.
Exactly.
Yep.
So that will wrap up our pitching. Real quick, we got to talk a little bit about Lindor and, of course, now Acuna. Okay?
Yeah.
Lindor, he's not back yet. I don't know if he's ever coming back. Backs are tricky. Now, Acuna has filled in nicely for the 3 games, but you can't think that Acuna is going to be MVP Lindor, who, Lindor was never going to win the MVP because of Ohtani, but in real talk, he's the most valuable player. Ohtani's the best player. So,
well, obviously, being a DH compared to playing shortstop on a daily basis, there's really no comparison.
It's a great
and I know that I haven't been the biggest Lindor promoter, but you have to, again, tip your cap when need be. And he's been fantastic since the beginning of the season. I want to see him next year coming out being serviceable. I'm not going to say you got to be a 350 hitter in April, but we can't be hitting a $170 in April again next year and hitting and striking out every other at bat. Slide at second base. It's well known that, come on, bro. You wouldn't be hurt if you just slid. Just slide into second base. Nobody said anything. They gave him a total pass about how he hurt himself. He hurt himself on a stand-up double that was not a stand-up double. So hopefully he's all right, because as somebody that had back surgery and has suffered a back injury, backs are tricky, like you said. Hopefully he's all right. Hopefully at 30 whatever years old, he's learned his lesson that fundamental baseball says, when in doubt, slide, and we wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
But it's been fun to watch Acuna come up and brings, once again, another guy to bring enjoyment, to bring excitement to the dugout, and showing no fear.
Both things.
That doesn't mean come playoff time, if they're there, that the young guy doesn't kind of go into a shell a little bit. He may not, but I would suspect that a younger guy has a better chance of, when the big bright lights really come on, of not being as successful.
You can't lose your MVP and expect to maintain, sustainable.
Yeah. But I can't tell this team they can't do anything.
You're right. They're
not listening to you anyway. They don't believe it. Like I said before.
You're right. Let's let's hope that Lindor's injury is not as serious as I think it is, because they said 2 to 5 days. As we speak right now, I believe it's 5, and he's not back to the start of the Phillies series. I don't know if he'll be back when people are listening or watching this, but back
Well,
to
like I told you through text, I don't want him to come back at 75% and try to play shortstop and try to swing the bat. Baseball's a rotational sport, swinging the bat, and your back has all to do with rotation. We don't need him out there at 75% trying to be a hero and struggling. If he's going to play, he's got to be able to play up to his level. I know a lot of people, oh, we're better off with you at 75% than we are with him at 100%. Bullshit. I don't believe that for a second, especially for a back. Baseball's too hard to go out there and try to play at 75%. It's just too hard.
Especially as a switch hitter and at that position.
Yeah.
And listen,
it's not like he's a corner outfielder. You can go hide him over there, or a first baseman. He's out in the middle of the diamond. He's going to get his 4 to 5 at-bats every night because he's hitting leadoff. And the rotation swinging, if you're not good, then there's a chance that, you're going to be sore and you're going to struggle. And we don't want him to come back and end up being a hindrance to the team just because he's trying to be a hero. I'm sure he feels like an ass now that he didn't slide and hurt himself.
And he wants to be back. I mean,
of course, 100%.
Every goddamn game. We know that him and Pete are as gamer, as you can be. Pete has played every goddamn game as well.
Yep.
He's been 1 of 6, so it's killing him. Let's see what happens. I mean, Acuna's holding it down, but I can't trust Acuna to do this for, 10.
The one thing that I've liked about him is, like I said, is he hasn't shown the ghost, the deer in the headlights at all. He's looked relatively comfortable.
Yeah,
that's a good thing. And I hate that. Again, I don't like to shit on people. But Beatty looks a little more deer in the headlights at times when we saw him earlier in the year. Or earlier in his career.
Beatty might be coming back. You hear about that?
I haven't, but it wouldn't surprise me. But where are you going to put him? I mean, he's not going to play anywhere.
If the only way he's coming back if Lindor is out for the year.
Right.
Oh, well, we'll have time.
Let's hope he's all right. I mean, obviously, as somebody that had a back injury, backs suck, man. When your back hurts, it's debilitating. It makes you feel like, man, I'm never going to be able to move like I used to again. I'm sure. Go ahead.
Cortisone shots, whatever he.
Oh yeah. But I just want him back when he can play, not partially play, because his position, like I said, he's not a corner outfielder, not a first baseman.
Well, you know what? He is the MVP of this.
In the last 2 nights, he scored like 19 runs without him.
Yeah,
10 runs and 9 runs.
And Acuna had a lot to do with that. Pete too.
And now he's got his licks. So again, don't. Get healthy as quickly as possible, but don't rush back and be at 65, 75% and trying to be a hero.
Yeah.
Because like I said, baseball is just too hard to try to play when you're not at 100%, especially at that level, especially come this time of year where it's nut cutting time,
I'll bring it back to this and then we'll move on to the mailbag. Like you said, Lindor, slide. That's it.
Him and it was Iglesias did the very next day did the exact same thing. I'm hoping, and I'm willing to almost guarantee that Mendoza, even though he probably feels like I shouldn't have to have this conversation, and maybe he didn't do it on a one-on-one basis, maybe just in front of the group, just to say, "Hey guys, just a reminder, let's slide into the base." I couldn't believe that's how we hurt ourselves. We got a 10-year veteran not sliding into a base. When we were kids, that's all we wanted to do, right? You run out there, you want to go slide.
He cost himself, man. All you have to do was just slide.
Yeah, just slide. Yep.
All right. We got to run to the mailbag. It's been a while.
It has been.
I'm excited.
As am I. I see we got some of our diehards, our trues.
Yeah, and it was last second that we threw this out there, so we didn't get. It doesn't matter. We got 3.
It doesn't matter. We're getting going again here.
All right. If you're new to the show, we say hello, throws out, ask Bill or myself. Always goes to Bill because he's the big leaguer. Any questions you want on the Mets or Major League Baseball, we answer them. So with that being said, let's get right back into it, Bill. It's been a while, all right?
Yep.
First question, NYMGI, our boy, your boy, my boy,
guy.
Everybody's boy.
Numero uno.
I think this is for both of us. He didn't specify. So let's pretend. He writes, who would you say has had the most surprising year in 2024 for the Mets, good and bad? Good question.
That is a good question. Most surprisingly good. I'm going to go with Vientos simply because he was not on the opening day roster and was kind of an afterthought. And he has quietly put together one of the better years in the big leagues as a third baseman, and even missed a big chunk. So that's a surprise to me that he has taken over the job and he has done more than hold his own. He's been very successful. Surprisingly bad. I think I've been negative enough on players today. I think I'm huh?
You've been the opposite. You're owning some shit that you held on
Yeah,
for.
but I've also felt like I've said some negative things about guys, and I hate to do
Nope.
that. I think that, and it's not surprisingly to me, but I think that Pete never got really hot this year. But
You're not wrong.
I'm a good judge of people, and I think, and I've said this before on the pod, Pete
Bill.
wears his, huh?
You're so modest.
I think I'm a good judge of people. I am, and I think that Pete deals with anxiety a little bit. I believe he does, and I think that playing under the season, under the circumstances that they are, and him carrying as much as he does, it has affected him at the dish. It has not affected his attitude towards playing his defense and being a team player and all that. But I'm not going to say it's been a bad season, but it hasn't been the season that we would all have hoped for.
Listen, Vientos is a great answer. I'm going to go Manaea.
That was my second, was Manaea, because I didn't know what to expect from him. I thought he was kind of on a decline, and he has proven me wrong. He's been fantastic, and he's just improved.
I'll go Manaea. We talked about him forever. I don't need to go why. As for surprisingly bad, oh boy.
Second half for Nimmo would have been my second.
Nimmo had the best first half of anybody on the team, and then he, disappeared, and he's kind of coming back now. I'm going to say Diaz.
I was close there too, but I was kind of cutting him a little bit of slack that he missed last year. But
yeah, in the beginning we could cut him slack, but you know what? It's he's cost the Mets a lot of games.
Stop pitching him in tie games. Stop pitching him in the 8th inning. Pitch him in the 9th with the lead. That is it.
Fair.
Different player there.
Fair. Let's get to the last, second to last question. Good question, JKNYMG. Steve, NYFD917. He's got a question for you. You alluded to David Peterson earlier. So, he has a question about DP. Bill, what has been the biggest thing you have seen to the success of David Peterson? Healthy, question mark? Arm slot, question mark? He's had an outstanding year.
I think that the guy battles his ass off, and they don't say that how you have to put zeros up. You just have to put zeros up, and that's what he goes and he does. What I've seen with him is kind of a confidence in himself, and I'm going to go back to where I think a turning period was, and it was the Yankees game that he pitched at New Shea at Citi Field. That game where he came out and he was blowing fastballs by people, and then he kind of went to his off-speed stuff and kind of struggled a little bit. I feel like from that moment on, he's decided, I'm going to pitch with big balls, and I don't give a shit. And that's what I've seen from him. And I think that he's had results, whether it be due to that or whatever, it doesn't matter. He's had results.
Confidence.
And it's kind of just, I think it's confidence. I think it's come down to confidence. I think that he was, and I don't hate to use deer in the headlights, but I saw a little bit of in his face, doubt, maybe is what I would say. I don't see that doubt as much anymore. I think he believes that it doesn't matter if it's first and third and nobody out like the other night, or it doesn't matter what the situation is. I can get myself out of this, and he knows that his teammates are going to be playing behind him. I think the belief that he knows he's going to get the ball, and health, obviously. If you're landing on your hips have a lot to do with either you're pushing off or you're landing. It doesn't matter left leg, right leg. Having a healthy hip will help with your confidence too, knowing that you can let the ball go.
Yeah, I think hips.
So I would say all of the above.
Yeah, a concoction of all of it.
Yep. Confidence when it comes down to it. Confidence and belief in himself is what I see the most.
Yeah, it's crazy. He's 9-1 with what did I say earlier? 2.85 ERA.
Crazy.
Who would have thought?
And earlier in the year, we couldn't get past 5, and he's walking guys and all that. But he's kept his nose to the grindstone and battled his ass off, and you got to love it. I've always rooted for the guy. I got a chance to meet him at the card show I did in upstate. Well, it's not really upstate because people from upstate hate when you say when you're in White Plains that you're upstate. But
not upstate.
Well, it's north of the Bronx.
Come on. Anyway, thank you for the question, Steve. We got our last question and then quick pitches. All right.
Yep.
Jeff Cohen, podcast, Baseball and BBQ. Big fan of our show, I think.
I believe.
I'm a big fan of
another guy I got to meet at White Plains, actually.
I saw that picture. Yeah. Yeah, he took one with you.
Yes, he did.
Two good-looking guys.
Thank you.
He's got a question for both of us. Let's start with Mr. Pulsifer. Bill.
Yes.
Jeff asked you, today's team stay at a 5-star hotel. How were the hotel accommodations during your time in the majors? And do players share a room?
The hotels were still 5-star hotels. We stayed at the Omni in Atlanta, the DoubleTree in whatever, all the nice hotels, all of them. I was lucky/unlucky enough to be, my rookie year was the last year of roommates.
Okay.
And then my following year in the major leagues was first year
solo,
your own room.
You love that.
Obviously, there's pluses and minuses to both. Sometimes when you're struggling in that, it's good to have a roommate, and other times, you want to be by yourself when you're away from the field. We're around each other quite a bit, so I think there's pluses and minuses for both. But the hotels were 5-star still back then, and my first year was roommates, and then the new collective bargaining agreement took over, and that changed.
It's crazy. Just to add on that real quick, when I broadcast for the 10 years I did in the minors, the media broadcaster guy, got his
bus driver.
Room. I got my own room. Everybody, all the players had to share.
I played in an independent league in the American Association where the bus driver and the radio guy roomed together.
Room together?
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt that.
Bus driver and the radio guy on the road, obviously.
Oh, my time in the minors, bro. I love the bus drivers were my go-to guys. Like, I love them, But I got my own room. It came good and bad. Players try to use, me for my own room. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I might.
Stories, this is PG. Ish. Let's go with the next question. I myself in trouble. Casey, gut feeling. This is from Jeff Cohen. The last part of the question.
A good one for you.
Casey, gut feeling. Pete stays or goes. No comment. Quick pitches.
Wow.
Right? Not ready for that discussion. Sorry, Jeff. Thank you.
Ask again in the off season?
Yeah, I can definitely do that.
All right.
Yeah. I can't answer that right now.
You want me to give my gut feeling? And I'll just keep it real brief.
Bill, the floor is yours.
He's a Met. He ain't going nowhere.
I'm not going to ask you why. We'll just take that and run with it.
That's it.
Why?
Oh, you going to ask me why?
Yeah, I'm fucking with you. Come on.
Because his value is still a Met. Stern still knows that. I know you like to say he doesn't value first baseman.
Nah.
But Pete will take less money now. Pete's humble enough. He's humble enough.
Now, I heard what you said. I hope you're right. I'll give you that.
I know that.
Jeff,
I hope I'm right too.
Jeff, thank you for the questions. I hope
you'll give your answer later.
Yes.
All right.
Quick pitches. If you're new to the program, it's our last segment every podcast. I asked 3 questions to Mr. Pulsifer. They are not baseball related. They can be anything ever. He doesn't know what's coming, and they're rapid fire. If the third question sucks, I have backups. And actually, Bill, it's been a while. We took our little brief timeout, and we're back. I have 2 backups just in case.
All right.
But I shouldn't have told you that.
That's fine.
Number 1. Oh, this is my favorite segment. If animals could talk, which would be the rudest?
If animals could talk, which could be the rudest?
I guess English. Or whatever language.
It's obvious. It's the aardvark.
Why?
I don't know. They're just rude.
Yeah, fair enough.
I don't know. I've never thought of that. The rudest. The aardvark. Just because I wanted to say aardvark.
This is why I love this segment. Frogs at a certain time at night, they're really loud.
Especially in Florida.
I feel like they're fighting with each other.
I don't have a frog issue here in New York, but I did live in Florida for a long time, so I do know what you're talking about.
Yes, you do. Yeah, especially
that's rude. They're being very rude.
They're probably being rude to each other.
Right.
And I'm caught up in the middle of it.
Right. Yeah. Which you find rude as well.
Exactly.
I'm sticking with aardvark.
All right. There.
All right.
My next question, we're still with the animals. I don't know why, but go with it.
We're animal lovers.
Chickens.
Say that again?
How many chickens
would
it take to kill an elephant? There's no wrong. I have no freaking clue.
Oh, I'm saying it's got to be like 150. I don't know how they would go about it. They'd peck the shit out of them.
I would think more. Elephants are freaking huge.
Yeah, but 150 chickens, that's a lot of chickens.
I'm thinking 300.
300. You're going to double it.
Yeah.
Right.
Again, I have no freaking clue.
Neither do I. I've never even thought about that one either.
That's why I love these questions.
So somewhere between 150 and 300.
We'll meet in the middle.
All right.
225. You know.
Ish.
All right. Last question. If it sucks, I got more. Okay.
Okay.
And I'll just say it. What is something? It has nothing to do with animals. What is something really popular now, but in 5 years, everyone will look back and will be completely embarrassed by it?
Crocs.
I hate
because they were embarrassing in 2009, 2010, and now they're embarrassing in 22, 23, 24, and in 5 years from now they'll still be embarrassing. As somebody that did own one pair of Crocs, and the only reason I owned one pair of Crocs because I used to make fun of a teammate, Bubby Busicero, may he rest in peace. But he bought me a pair of Crocs because I used to make fun of his Crocs, and they are comfortable, but they're embarrassing.
I've never owned a pair of Crocs for that. It just
good. I say that's what I'm going with. Crocs will be the thing that people look back on, especially the people that are wearing them now. Although I don't know, we're kind of lost at this with this young generation. They might still be wearing them in 5 years, but I'm hoping when I look back at my Ocean Pacific shorts in my photos from when I was in the 80s, and I look at and I'm embarrassed by the little corduroy shorts that were just above my nuts. I hope that's what they're going to be looking back when they see photos of them in their pajamas and their Crocs.
Let me ask you this about Crocs. Does it make it even worse that if they wear socks with it?
That's terrible. And it's everywhere around here.
They should be put behind the barn and you know what.
Yeah.
I'm going to do one more because that was a great answer and I hate Crocs, so I agree. Never owned a pair for that reason. I got two more, but I'm going to pick the best one, I think, out of the two. All right. Ready? Last one.
Ready.
What set of items could you buy that would make the cashier the most uncomfortable?
Set of items?
Or any items. At any place. Cashier. You just...
Anal lube and light bulbs.
Okay, hold on. I get the anal lube. What light bulbs?
You're going to put the bulb up your butt.
Oh,
or
boy.
Someone's butt.
I wasn't even... Okay. Yeah, I'm happy I asked that.
That would make you uncomfortable, wouldn't it?
No, that wasn't the question, though.
Well, that would... Yeah.
Make the cashier uncomfortable about ringing you up, I think, of course, the light bulb up my ass is going to make me...
If that person is using their imagination, it could make them uncomfortable.
Yes.
Like I just used my imagination.
Quite the... man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And light bulbs.
This is why it's my favorite segment. We got to wrap up.
I hope I gave you some good answers.
You gave me Crocs. You gave me light bulbs. You did well.
Thank you.
I had a 6-week waiting period, so but I came up with it today. Listen, we got to wrap up, Bill.
Yes, we do.
I,
It's time. It's game time.
yeah, I it's been a brief break, but I'm happy we're back. Um, as I always say, any last words to our listeners, watchers, both?
Well, thanks as always. Thanks everybody for that does listen and watch, and those that participate by sending in their questions. Casey, good to see you. It's been a long time, and let's go. We got 10 games to go. Let's get in the playoffs and let's see what can happen.
Absolutely. Listen, I missed this. Our brief break is over. It's go time, and then we'll be back in the off season. But it's going to be a fascinating off season. It really, really is. But we're not ready to talk about that yet.
Not yet. There's still games to be played.
Oh, major games to be played. Um, Bill, it's been a pleasure. I want to thank Chris behind the scenes. I want to thank everybody listening, wherever you get your podcasts. We're everywhere. And if you want to watch us on YouTube, Say Hello Media. Type that in, hit that subscribe button. We're close to 400. And once we get there, we have a special surprise. So let's get there. We're only, I believe, 9 away. Bill, it's been great.
Yeah,
Chris,
man. Good to see
thank
you.
you very much. And so, for Chris and Bill Postfer, my name is Casey Lynn saying until next time, so long from the Say Hello podcast.